And without any further ado, the history of the undisputed welterweight champions and Terrence Bud Crawford. I'm going to go through them. There's only 50 of them. So let me start off with the first undisputed welterweight champion. And he's in actually the photo that we're looking at. His name was Paddy Duffy. Okay. I was going to do a different stream on boxing, but I decided, excuse me, I promised you guys a stream. I'm very, very sleepy, but I promised you guys a stream. I'm going to keep my word. Okay. So here comes the stream. So Paddy Duffy in 1888 was the first undisputed welterweight champion of the world. Now, before that, there was just the champion, world title claimant. You had mysterious Billy Smith, which came after, actually, William. So we're going to go through the history of them. It's 50 of them. So Paddy Duffy, he was the first guy, first undisputed. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. He didn't win no New York State Athletic Commission. There was no New York State Athletic Commission. He was just undisputed. Tommy Ryan defeated Danny Needham because what happened is Paddy Duffy died, and as a result, that vacated title by Paddy Duffy was contested between Tommy Ryan and Danny Needham. And Tommy Ryan won it. So he became the second undisputed champion. And then mysterious Billy Smith, who had been a former world champion, he won the undisputed title in 1900. He was beaten by Matty Matthews the same year. And Matty Matthews was beaten by Eddie Connolly. Yeah, excuse me. I've been doing all kinds of stupid things. I'm sorry about this. That's just what it is. I'm very, very tired. Eddie Connolly was beaten by Rube Ferns. All of this happened in 1900. So the title changed hands a couple times in 1900. In 1901, Rube Ferns, he was able to go from October 1900 to May 1901. But he lost to Matty Matthews, who became the undisputed champion of the world. But Rube Ferns was able to avenge his loss and regain the undisputed title, of which Barbados Joe Walcott beat him comprehensively, stopped him, and he reigned from 1901. Excuse me, shit, man. From 1901 to 1906, Barbados Joe Walcott reigned as undisputed welterweight champion. He was beaten by William Honey Melody in 1906, who was beaten by Mike Twin Sullivan. I'm sorry, no, I'm wrong. He wasn't beaten by Mike Twin Sullivan. He vacated and moved up, and Mike Twin Sullivan fought for the vacated title and beat the opponent that he was fighting for the title, and he became the champion. Ray Bronson beat Mike Sullivan. Waldemar Holberg beat Ray Bronson. Waldemar Holberg came from Denmark, I believe. And then Tom McCormick beat him to become undisputed. This was in 1914. He was from Australia. And then Mike Glover from the United States of America beat Matt Wells that very same year of 1915. And then Jack Breton beat Mike Glover. Ted Kid Lewis beat Jack Breton. And then they had what we call a sort of a rivalry that was going on between them. So Breton took it the first time. Then Ted Kid Lewis beat him. Breton came back and beat him in the rematch. And then Ted Kid Lewis beat him in the rematch. And then Breton beat him finally in a rematch. This went on from 1915 all the way up to 1922. 7 years of these two exchanging hands and dominance. Jack Breton would be defeated by Mickey Walker. the famous Mickey Walker who fought all the way up to heavyweight. Pete Lazo would beat Mickey Walker. Joe Dundee would beat Pete Lazo. Jackie Fields beat Joe Dundee. Jack Thompson beat Jackie Fields. Tommy Freeman beat Jack Thompson. All of this is undisputed, by the way. And then Jack Thompson came back and beat Tommy Freeman. And then Lou Brillard, he beat Jack Thompson. Jackie Fields came back and won the title again. And then Young Corbett III, who was a southpaw, beat Jackie Fields. Jimmy McLarnin beat Young Corbett III. Barney Ross beat Jimmy McLarnin. Jimmy McLarnin comes back in the rematch, beats Barney Ross. Barney Ross comes back and rematches him, beats him. Henry Armstrong comes out of the clear blue sky, fights at welterweight, beats Barney Ross, and reigns from 1938 to 1940, about 20-something defenses successful. And then Fritzy Zivit comes and defeats Henry Armstrong. Freddie Cochran beats Fritzy Zivit, and Marty Servo, he beats Freddie Cochran. Marty Servo retires from the sport of boxing. The vacant title is contested between Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Bell. Sugar Ray Robinson, and Sugar Ray Robinson wins against Tommy Bell, and he becomes the undisputed champion. This was from 1946 to 1950, so he was undisputed champion for 4 years at welterweight. This was in the two-belt era, and this is the time with the NYSAC and the NBA. Those would later become the WBC and WBA. After that, Johnny Bratton won the vacant title that was vacated by Sugar Ray Robinson when he moved up to middleweight to fight for the middleweight title. And then Johnny Bratton was beaten by Kid Gavilan. Kid Gavilan was stripped, and he regained the title in 1954. Then he was beaten by Johnny Saxton. Okay. This is undisputed titles called the NBA and the NBA and the NYSAC. Anyway, Johnny Saxton is defeated by Tony DeMarco. DeMarco is beaten by Carmen Basilio. Johnny Saxton comes back and regains the title from Carmen Basilio. Carmen Basilio then beats him again. So they had a little rivalry going on for a minute. And then he moves up to middleweight, where he becomes middleweight champion, having beaten Sugar Ray Robinson. That's a whole other story for another day. Anyways, Virgil Atkins wins the vacant title. And then Don Jordan beats Virgil Atkins. Benny Kid Barrett beats Don Jordan. This is the Cuban fighter. Emil Griffith beats Benny Kid Barrett, and then Benny Kid Barrett comes back and beats Emil Griffith, and then Emil Griffith gets the last say as he kills, actually, Benny Kid Barrett in the ring on March of 1963. Now, the inaugural WBA WBC undisputed title was won by Luis Manuel Rodriguez, but Emil Griffith comes back to win back the title from him, and then he moves up to middleweight, and he was fighting at super welterweight as well. He officially moves up to middleweight. In the meantime, Curtis Coates wins the vacant title in 1969. Jose Napoles beats Curtis Coates in 1970. Billy Backus upsets Jose Napoles in 1971, but Napoles comes back and wins the title in 1975, 4 years later. Now, after this, in 1982, which is about 7 years later, Sugar Ray Leonard would win the undisputed title against Thomas the Hitman Hearns. They unifying the WBA and WBC title. Hearns was the WBA champion, Leonard was the WBC, after he had avenged his loss to Roberto Duran. In 1986, there were 3 belts that you had to fight for to become undisputed. So all I was speaking about was the 2-belt era. Now there were 3 belts. And the first guy to win those 3 belts would be Donald Curry. He was beaten by Lloyd Honeyghan. And we didn't have an undisputed champion from 1987 all the way up to 2003. In 2003, which is roughly 16 years later, Corey Spinks defeated the guy who stopped Vernon Forrest from, I think it's Nicaragua, one of those countries. Can't remember. He faced Jay Mosley, all kind of thing. Ricardo Mayorga. Ricardo Mayorga, who was the WBA IBF champion. Corey Spinks was the WBC. He was able to defeat Ricardo Mayorga, and he reigned for almost 2 years. He beat Zab Judah the first time, but then he faced Zab Judah a second time, in which Zab Judah stopped him late. Since then, more than 17 years later, 18 years later, Terrence Bud Crawford becomes undisputed welterweight champion. Now in the 4-belt era. Becoming a 4-belt champion is even more difficult today, and especially with the politics in boxing. But Terrence Bud Crawford belongs to a very elite group of fighters. And it's very rare that that you get an undisputed champion, and you're talking about 138 years of history. So I just wanted to highlight all these undisputed champions that came before, and how Terrence Crawford is now amongst them for being undisputed. And we haven't even mentioned what he did at super lightweight either. Anyway, I am what you need. I am tired. Obviously, I'm yawning. I will catch you guys later. Peace out.